Hey everyone, it's Evan here from the Trade Risk on Wednesday, August 30th, here with a midweek market recap video. We're going to cover all of the major markets, the current market environment, and then finish off looking at some sector analysis. We're going to jump right into charts today with the S&P 500. That's the SPY ETF. And you can see we finished up just under 0.5% today, 0.47% to the upside. And if we look at the weekly chart, it's a little bit less than we're up on the week. So we're up almost 60 basis points, a little over 0.5% here on the week, and you can see we are trading above last week's highs. So you get that near-term bullish start to the week here. We're above last week's highs, a good sort of beginning here to this week. Now, the sort of interesting days that developed were between yesterday and today. So let's dial back and take a look at this week's action day by day. Monday, we started off really inside the same sort of range that we ended last week in. You could see 3 days sideways here, very choppy, right at the 8 and 20 period moving average here on the daily chart. Monday, same exact type of action, just very choppy, ended flat. Now, Tuesday was the day that I think gave you your first sort of clue. It was sort of interesting to take notice this week. We had a gap down below this 4-day sort of tight range in here. So remember, since Wednesday of last week, Thursday, Friday, Monday of this week, very tight sort of overlapping price action, carving out that indecisive trading range. And yesterday we had the gap lower. And to me, this is a day where if we needed an excuse to sort of really roll over here for the market to really put in a larger pullback, correction, whatever you want to call it, come back down and retest this 240 level. The open yesterday, the news that surfaced overnight with the whole macro climate and North Korea and everything developing there, that gave us the excuse to gap lower and really roll over. This is a day that could turn very ugly in sort of the in those bearish types of environments. And what we actually saw was the exact opposite. Even though the market had that good excuse to sort of roll over here, a breakaway gap from a tight 4-day trading range back to recent lows, we actually in fact rallied and basically rallied all day and finished flat on the day. Now, again, not we didn't break through any resistance. We didn't have this huge volume surge or anything like that. So expectations, can clearly be contained here. But the important point was we didn't roll over and we didn't break down. We didn't stay weak and just come back and retest these August lows. We came right back and just sort of like a magnet came back into this range here. I think that was very constructive. That was a day to take notice, potentially take shorts off, because at this point now you had a rally, you had a save here basically at 243.50 from a few weeks ago. You had this double bottom down here around 242.50. You have another save down here at 243. This area is clearly, and again going forward, I think we have this nice marker. This is an important zone, this 1 or 2 point zone here in the SPY. I think if you're a tactical trader, even intermediate term at this point, you can start to pay attention to this sort of general area here. And as long as price is above there, again, I don't think we have an easy long at this point. I'm going to get to today's action in a moment, but at least we have support here. We have demonstrated dip buyers kind of coming in at each of these levels or sellers exhaustion. And until we start to break below there, I think that's your next sort of line in the sand or point to really get concerned about. So with the action here yesterday, let's get back to our story, this narrative. Tuesday, we saw the dip buyers step in, close us back like a magnet right in this range here, and today we got follow through to the upside. Today was a follow through day off of yesterday's reversal day. Again, didn't come on high volume or any extraordinary buying. I didn't see a tremendous amount of bullishness over there looking at market internals and sort of other metrics, but it got the job done, especially for summertime trading. We did get that follow through to the upside. So I definitely think, between these past 2 days, we have sort of a more concrete support established here at 243. This is a good line in the sand. If you're playing tactically against this level, I think it makes sense. Stops around 243, Tuesday's lows. I think that all makes sense. Certainly does in my mind and strategy. I think even with today's follow through, again, I'm not an uber bull here. I do think expectations should still be somewhat contained given the fact that we are still very clearly in a trading range here. You have a lot of supply right here with resistance up north of 247. You have this trend line down here extending from the recent highs, right basically where we closed or ran into today. So we still have plenty of supply in here. We can easily, get another follow through day up to 247, fail at the highs, come back down, roll over, chop around, the whole song and dance here inside of this trading range. But I think the important points were, at least in the short term, we got support demonstrated yesterday. We really kind of solidified this area as an important sort of high stakes ground going forward into September. And that's, certainly the way I'm looking at it. Weekly chart, again, really kind of speaks to the same picture here. Maybe more consolidation, maybe more sideways, maybe more of a range to develop here. But for now, a win for the bulls, at least defensively, on that support. So that's the S&P 500. Looking at the IWM, this is actually day number 5. The IWM is up in a row. If you were to actually take out, this pesky down minus 16 basis points day last Wednesday, would be up 7 or 8 days in a row. So IWM is really sort of levitated here, completely non-existent volume. It's all been below average. So again, that's always suspect, but you did have, a sort of a capitulation high volume bar breaking through this trend line. And maybe that was enough washout to sort of just V us higher back into this old range. And, I think the small caps are certainly something to pay attention to for clues. I think you have a very accelerated trend line here. So if we start to break below, the day prior's lows or below this trend line here, that's something you can use to sort of help navigate and sort of understand near-term price action. The Qs, they're strong. I mean, this is in fact almost a new closing high here. This is almost a new all-time closing high here for the Qs. You really just have this Wednesday, the 726th, still above us, but very strong snapback today, up 1%. So you're getting a nice, good amount of follow through. Again, not on tremendous volume, but the Qs, best in class, back up to the sort of resistance area, the old highs here. If we see more price advancement tomorrow, we will have new highs here in the Qs very quickly. So that's the landscape overall. I think this week's got some bullish developments that have been happening over yesterday and today. We'll see if we can hold those gains into the end of the week. That's always going to be important as well. And of course, coming into Labor Day soon, we're going to start to end that summer halt, that sort of summer trading lull, and kick off the month of September. Maybe we see some good volume start to come back in out in the next couple of weeks. So that's the market environment. Let's take a look at some other of those major markets here. TLT. So TLT had a bit of a slow start to start the week, again, similar to the SPY, just very choppy sideways. Tuesday had this nice gap up. This is, again, when markets gap down. We had that kind of fear trade, everything inverted, where we had equities and risk appetite kind of selling off, and we had the safe havens really gapping up to start at least the beginning of the day. We were in this trade. We've sort of been documenting this trade throughout all of these videos, and we did sell out, lucky enough, near the open of the day out of the rest of our TLT trade. Remember, if you call, kind of targeting a retest of these highs, and we did get there. I have no idea. Maybe this trend persists and this thing continues to run without me. But for now, it's a trade, it's completed, it's sort of on to the next one. So no longer in this myself. You can see it's still holding bullish trend. Nothing, really technically has changed with this trend. So perhaps it continues higher. If it starts to break below that 8 period or something to that effect, maybe you have a more clear sort of change of character. But short term, at least, bulls are still in control. Short term sort of exhaustion there with that gap higher, and then failure kind of closing, giving up most of those gains from that gap. So we'll have to see really how this unfolds into the end of the week. I think it'll be an interesting weekly candle for TLT come Friday. Next, if we go to USO. So USO, we're down 3.79% on the week. You can see here, week close on Wednesday. We really started with the pain trade back on Monday. We kind of went into the weekend just kind of consolidating sideways here, maybe looking a little vulnerable, but hadn't broken down again until Monday, where we started to break below these recent lows. We're now below the lows from the 17th. So bears back in control, 8 and 20 period are bearishly aligned. You had an uptick in volume there on Monday. So sellers in control here, going to need something to change there before I'd want to start trying to aggressively buy that dip or look for any type of dip. I think sellers are very clearly in control here. Natural gas, still in this trade. Another tough day for it today on Wednesday. We sort of talked about the entry where we got involved in this back here on Monday. didn't get that immediate follow through, and it's still just moving sideways here, hanging out in this trade. I've had a couple of upticks in volume there on those up days. Until it breaks this support, that's really my sort of line in the sand here, this 640, 643 level. We had a pretty loud day here on Monday to start the week with this gap lower and a nice engulfing bar. But we really want to see it hold that. If it starts to lose these lows down here, the lows from Monday, the low from this trend line, we're going to be out of this trade. But for now, long UNG, clearly early, but we're going to see if this can stabilize and hopefully lift out of this resistance, out of this sideways little base here. What else do we have? Gold, GLD, strong day on Monday. Hasn't done too much since, but we saw a nice pop here, 1.59%. Good volume coming in here. If we look at the weekly chart, you can see starting to get above some of these old month highs here from April and back in June. So gold appears to be in motion there. Bullish trend, looking good. Silver, kind of similar situation, nice uptick in volume there. The weekly chart is not as pleasant as GLD. You can see it's not at the year-to-date highs at all. It's in fact still below the March-April sort of double top there, or at least those two pivots. So constructive action, but again, on a relative basis, gold looks a lot better position than silver right now. And I think that's everything. I think we covered all the majors. Let's take a look at some sector analysis. So for this week, we really have to look. IBB is really the standout. Today had another fantastic day, up 1.87%. Nice uptick in volume there. If we look at that weekly chart, you can see up 4% this week. So this is leading the charge right now. And again, this a lot of these companies do make up a good component or good weighting in the Qs, which is why again we almost see the Qs back to making those all-time highs, and IBB along with tech and everything else certainly seems to be helping that. So IBB, nice winner for this week. Technically, again, above that 8 and 20 period moving average, looking good. We have this pivot here back from July. So again, you got some resistance to the left of us coming up, but IBB, good start, nice leadership there. IYT also from a percentage basis up 2.02% this week. So a nice little snapback here as well. Talked about this level back in the last couple of videos, 164, it looking very vulnerable for lower prices, but we knew it was kind of just still hanging out near this support, and you can see it did get this fast snapback. I think yesterday again was the day to take notice, where you had some price action trading all the way down to that 163 level until it finished very strong back above some of this recent trading in here. So IYT looks like very similar to the SPY in those comments that we talked about. We do have a nice sort of support area, a mattress of support area to sort of work with and look at going forward in IYT. Also on the upside, semiconductors, nice day today, follow through day, clearing some support, up 1.4%. That's constructive. Technology closing at new highs today for the XLK ETF. That's very bullish. XLI also getting nice follow through here, kind of putting in a bottom, or at least, short term kind of clearing back above some near term supply. So lots of sectors really kind of showing that nice sort of continuation day and looking like we want to hold on to support. Again, that can change. There's no guarantee. Tomorrow, the end of the week, we could give this back, but we are seeing support across multiple sectors. We're seeing breadth start to strengthen a little bit, starting to see new highs, get a little bit of an uptick. That's all kind of putting the probabilities, the weight, sort of the evidence there in the bulls' favor with some constructive near-term action. On the downside, XLF. Still, again, this one not quite as strong, demonstrating prior support, right? Hasn't really got back above this 2470 level, still below an 8 and 20 period moving average. So not as constructive there for financials, but again, it's still kind of hanging on right where it needs to by the skin of its teeth. XLP, a little, defensive sectors, XLU, XLP, not as strong here on the day or on the week, just because of the nature of how they trade with risk appetite. So that's sort of to be expected. But I think overall from a sector basis, lots of things starting to sort of solidify on that support. And to reiterate sort of that last comment there, I still think again, very bullish. Maybe this all sounds like a super bull, recap here, and I think it is important to acknowledge the sort of bullish 2-day developments, but I do, again, still want to tame the expectations here that we are in a range in the SPY, in the IWM. I mean, this is clearly at the bottom of a range. The Qs are the most bullish, but we still have resistance above us, and we should, sort of act accordingly and expect some chop and not just clear sailing. But again, we'll see what the market holds for us. So enjoy the rest of August. Get ready for September. Thanks so much for watching. If you're new here, do subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you like these videos, do the midweek video every Wednesday, weekend video every Friday, and mixed up some things in between. I've been light posting, kind of taking the last week or so of August off. Hopefully start to get more active on the blog, doing some writing, doing some in-between videos come September. So thanks everyone for watching. Have a good rest of your day.